The moment you step into a room, you're already speaking. Not with your mouth, not with your words, but with the thousand silent signals your face, posture, and timing broadcast without permission. Everyone around you is decoding you. They study your expressions. They measure the tone of your voice. They pay attention to when you go quiet. And most of the time, they don't even realize they're doing it. It happens automatically, driven by instinct, fear, desire, or insecurity. But what if you could do it with purpose? What if you could read people the way a surgeon studies anatomy, precisely, strategically, without guessing? That's exactly what thinkers like Machiavelli mastered. He believed that true power doesn't only come from what you say or how you act. It comes from how quickly you can see through others. To influence someone, you must understand them. To protect yourself, you must anticipate them. And to dominate them, you must read them before they even realize you're watching, because the surface is never the truth. Every smile could be a performance. Every handshake could conceal a threat. Every compliment could be a carefully planted test. So how do you cut through the mask? Machiavelli built tactics, not guesses. Specific psychological tools designed to expose someone's real character, hidden motives, and secret weaknesses. And once you know how to use them, you'll see people differently. You'll stop reacting to what they show you. Instead, you'll start recognizing what they're trying to hide. The power of this skill is twofold. First, it protects you from deception and betrayal. Second, it gives you silent leverage over anyone you meet. Because once you know what a person fears, craves, or avoids, you know how to guide them without force. Imagine never being surprised by someone's true nature again. Imagine spotting dishonesty before it stabs you in the back. Imagine walking into any room and instantly knowing who's insecure, who's powerful, and who's pretending. That's the power of psychological reading. But there's a warning. The deeper you go, the harder it is to look at people the same way. You begin to see patterns everywhere. You start noticing the flickers, the slips, the cracks in the mask. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. This series will break down 14 tactics drawn from Machiavellian psychology. Not guesses, not cliches, but methods that reveal people's real operating system. If you're ready to understand others and protect yourself at the same time, then let's begin. Every person you meet is wearing a mask. Sometimes it's confidence. Sometimes it's kindness. Sometimes it's humility. But underneath, there's always something else. Fear, hunger, or insecurity. The trick is to see past the mask before it blinds you. The first tactic is simple but brutal. Watch how someone treats the invisible. Don't waste time on how they treat you. That can be faked. It's easy to smile at equals. It's easy to flatter someone you need. But the truth leaks out in how they treat people who can't give them anything. The waiter, the assistant, the stranger in the background. When someone thinks they're safe to relax, their real character surfaces. If they show contempt, that's how they'll treat you the moment your value drops. If they show respect, even when it doesn't matter, that respect is genuine. Kindness toward equals is often performance. Kindness toward the powerless is a confession of true nature. The second tactic is silence. Most people hate silence because silence is pressure. They fill it with words, with nervous explanations, with chatter that leaks their fears. If you want to read someone fast, speak less than they do. Hold back. Pause longer than feels natural. Let the weight of silence hang between you. Watch what happens. They will begin to overshare. They will try to impress you. They will reveal more than they intended. Insecurity doesn't thrive in silence. It crumbles under it. Every word they throw at the silence is a clue to what they're hiding. The third tactic is to offer nothing. This is one of the coldest moves, but also one of the most revealing. Give them no approval, no affection, no benefit, just your presence. Calm, detached, unreadable. Why? Because most people treat others based on what they can extract. When you remove the reward, their real programming activates. If they grow colder, they were only warm for gain. If they try harder, they're insecure and desperate for approval. If they remain steady, you found someone with emotional control, a rare and dangerous kind. The less you give, the more they reveal. Because nothing exposes human nature faster than removing the incentive to fake it. In these first 3 tactics, the mask begins to slip. You're not looking at their words. You're watching how they behave when the performance isn't rewarded, and that's where the real person hides. Some people are the hardest to read because they've rehearsed. They know how to act charming. They know how to look vulnerable. They even know how to sprinkle honesty into their words to appear authentic. But what you're really seeing isn't them. It's a script they've perfected for survival and control. Machiavelli understood that the only way to see past the script is to break it. This is the 4th tactic: interrupt their control pattern. How do you do it? You disrupt their rhythm. Ask a question they don't expect. Respond to flattery with silence instead of gratitude. Interrupt their story before they can land the punchline. Change the subject when they're building momentum. And then watch. The moment their performance cracks, you glimpse the truth. The stumble always reveals the person behind the act. The 5th tactic is to test loyalty with small losses. Too many people wait until betrayal slams them in the face. But betrayal never comes out of nowhere. It was always there, waiting. So you test early. You create a small denial, something harmless but telling. Say no to a minor request. Deny a favor they thought they could count on. Withhold attention for a short time. Then observe. Do they stay respectful and steady? Or do they grow bitter, critical, or distant the moment you stop giving? True loyalty isn't measured when people are gaining. It's revealed when they're denied. The smallest no often exposes the largest truth. The 6th tactic is to measure focus, not words. Words are the easiest part to fake, but attention is harder to disguise. Where people direct their eyes, their body, their subtle energy, that's where their real priorities live. Do they glance constantly toward powerful people in the room? They crave status? Do they ignore those with no advantage? They only respect opportunity. Do they check their phone while talking to you? You're not a priority, you're just a placeholder. Do they mirror your expressions or posture? They're trying to gain favor. Machiavelli didn't waste energy listening to polished sentences. He tracked attention like currency. Because where someone invests their focus tells you everything about their values and everything they secretly dismiss. By the end of these tactics, the script is torn open. Performance breaks under disruption. Loyalty bends under denial, and the eyes always betray the truth. Every person hides their weaknesses, but not everyone hides them well. And if you know how to test, you don't need to wait for time to expose them. You can expose them instantly. The 7th tactic is simple but sharp. Create a weakness that isn't real and see how they react. Offer a small, invented flaw. Say something like, "I tend to overthink," or "I'm not always good at confrontation." Then watch closely. If they exploit it later, mocking you or using it against you, they're opportunistic. They'll weaponize any vulnerability you show. If they ignore it completely, they're cautious or respectful. If they share a weakness of their own in return, they're seeking connection. By giving away a fake vulnerability, you risk nothing, but you learn everything. The 8th tactic is to make them wait. Few things reveal entitlement faster than delayed gratification. Send a late reply. Be vague with scheduling. Take longer than expected to provide something they want. Patience is discipline. Impatience is exposure. The entitled will panic, guilt trip, or turn passive-aggressive. The patient will adapt and hold steady. Machiavelli looked at waiting not as wasted time, but as a test of character. Because the ones who can't endure small delays will collapse under real stress. The 9th tactic is to watch who they copy. Every person mirrors someone, whether they realize it or not. They mimic tone, they imitate style, they borrow mannerisms, and those choices reveal ambition. If they mirror the powerful, they crave control. If they mirror the popular, they hunger for attention. If they mirror the virtuous, they seek moral superiority. The person someone emulates is the person they secretly want to become. And once you decode that pattern, you see the direction of their ambition. It is no longer a mystery what they're rechasing. It is written in who they copy. These 3 tactics dig beneath the surface layer of words and charm. By planting a false weakness, you expose how they handle vulnerability. By delaying them, you expose their sense of entitlement. By watching their imitations, you expose the hidden idol they worship. And together these insights give you a sharper picture of who they really are and where they're headed. Most people never announce their darkest emotions. They hide them behind polite smiles and carefully chosen words. But the truth always leaks. Small flickers, subtle shifts, tiny cracks in the mask. The 10th tactic is to trigger envy and watch the reaction. Mention something that elevates you slightly. It could be a compliment someone gave you, a recent win, an opportunity you landed. Then pause. Look directly at their face. The smile may tighten. The eyes may drop for a split second. They may redirect the conversation immediately, or they may downplay your success. That's envy speaking. Machiavelli warned that envy is the most dangerous emotion to detect because it never stays silent for long. It always turns into sabotage. Envy doesn't roar, it flickers, and once you see it, you can never forget it. The 11th tactic is to ask what they hate. Most people are eager to tell you what they love, but love is easy to fake. Hatred is harder to disguise. So ask, what kind of people do you dislike? Or, what kind of behavior drives you crazy? Their answers are never just about others. They are reflections of themselves. Those who hate arrogance are often quietly arrogant. Those who hate dishonesty are often skilled liars. Those who hate weakness are terrified of being seen as weak. In judgment, you find confession. The 12th tactic is to track what breaks their eye contact. Eye contact is power. People hold it as long as they feel safe. But the moment you strike a nerve, the eyes betray them. Mention money, shame, status, failure, or power dynamics, and then watch their gaze. The twitch, the glance away, the drop of the eyes reveals where their fear lives. The eyes are not just windows to the soul. They are exit doors for suppressed emotions. Whatever makes the eyes flee is the very thing they don't want you to see. These 3 tactics cut sharper than any smile or speech. Envy flickers in a moment. Hatred confesses the self, and the eyes betray the unspoken. Once you've seen these signals, the mask can never hide the truth again. The final 2 tactics are different from the rest. They're not about watching from the shadows. They're about stepping into the game and shaping how others see you. Because sometimes, the fastest way to read someone is to make them reveal themselves to you. The 13th tactic is to become the mirror they can't look away from. Most people live behind a mask. They perform their charm. They display their confidence. They show you the version of themselves they want you to believe. But when you reflect that version back at them, something happens. If you mirror their tone, posture, or choice of words, subtly, carefully, they begin to see themselves in you. And that self-recognition unsettles them. If you mirror their casual tone, they may suddenly grow serious, trying to dominate. If you mirror their confidence, they may hesitate, unsure how to respond. If you mirror their insecurity, they may rise up in superiority, even mocking you. The mirror forces friction. They reveal what they're hiding by how they react to their own reflection. And the more they shift when faced with that reflection, the more you know they were only performing. The 14th tactic is to disarm with respect before you cut with truth. Most people walk into conversations prepared for judgment. They expect criticism. They expect resistance. So they armor themselves with excuses, justifications, and filters. Machiavelli's genius was to take away that armor before the strike. He began with respect, a compliment, acknowledgement of intelligence, validation of effort. Even if he didn't fully believe it, he gave people the safety of admiration. And the moment they relaxed, the real question followed. Not a surface question, not a polite question, a surgical question. What fear drives your biggest decisions? When did you first learn to fake your confidence? How do you know when someone is reading you? Respect opens the door. The question tears down the mask. People are far more honest when they feel admired. And in that honesty, they hand you their truth without realizing it. Together, these last 2 tactics are the sharpest of all. Mirroring unsettles the mask. Respect lowers the guard. And once the mask slips, and the guard drops, the real self stands exposed. Reading people is only the first layer. Once you understand them, the real power begins, deciding how to use what you see. Machiavelli never studied people for curiosity. He studied them as terrain, as codes to be navigated, as tools to be used. Every weakness, habit, and blind spot could be turned into leverage, and influence was his true weapon. The first rule of influence is simple. Never fight someone's desire. Reflect it, then redirect it. If they crave recognition, show them how your vision brings them more of it. If they want control, let them believe following your plan gives them influence. If they need admiration, give them subtle approval, then withhold it to make them chase. You don't oppose their need, you hijack it. The second rule is to use controlled vulnerability. Reveal a flaw that doesn't cost you. Say, I tend to second-guess myself, or I get too focused on work sometimes. Why? Because it flips the power dynamic. They feel superior, which feeds their ego. They feel trusted, which creates false intimacy. They feel helpful, which invests them emotionally. And in that state, they open up. They reveal truths they'd normally hide because they believe they're in control. The third rule is the false exchange of secrets. Offer half of a confession, a partial truth, sharp enough to seem raw, but safe enough to protect you. I learned the hard way not to trust too quickly. I had to stop being too nice to people. Now they believe you've exposed yourself, and in their relief, they lower their defenses. Then they give you a real secret in return. You handed them a puzzle piece, they gave you the whole map. The fourth rule is to let them define themselves. Listen to how they frame their own identity. I value loyalty above all. I hate when people waste my time. I don't let emotions control me. These self-definitions are blueprints. When you want them to act, tie your request to their script. You're the kind of person who values loyalty. I trust you'll handle this. Or, I know you hate inefficiency. This shortcut is exactly what we need. You're not persuading. You're reaffirming their own identity while steering it to serve you. The beauty of this method? They never resist, because they believe they're staying true to themselves. This is where reading shifts to ruling. You're no longer reacting to the mask. You're guiding the mask to move exactly how you want. There's a cost to seeing too much. The more you learn to read others, the more the world begins to shift. You stop hearing words. You hear strategies. You stop seeing smiles. You see performances. You stop trusting gestures. You look for the motive beneath them. And once you cross that line, you can never go back. This is the shadow of power. When you can see through everyone, you risk floating above them all. You risk believing you're untouchable. You risk playing the game not to survive, but to dominate for sport. That's when perception turns dangerous. That's when influence becomes control. And that's when the mask you're watching becomes the mask you start wearing yourself. Machiavelli understood this temptation better than anyone. He knew that deep insight can make you cold. It can strip away empathy. It can make every interaction feel like calculation, every connection like manipulation. And if you lose empathy, you lose balance. The sharpest blade cuts both ways. The one who reads everyone can also be read. The one who manipulates can be manipulated. The one who pulls strings too tightly can end up tangled in their own web. So the highest level of Machiavellian intelligence isn't just reading and influencing. It's knowing when to stop. It's knowing when to walk away with the wind still in your pocket. The true strategist doesn't fight every battle. They don't expose every mask. They don't dominate every room. They choose carefully. They step back when it's time. They disappear before their presence turns heavy. Because the greatest power isn't being seen as the smartest, sharpest, or most ruthless. It's moving the game forward without anyone realizing you were the one moving it. At the highest level, reading people stops feeling like a trick. It becomes instinct. You walk into a room and the information flows automatically. You know who is insecure. You know who is quietly powerful. You know who is performing. And you know who is watching you just as carefully as you're watching them. That is the shadow, the double-edged gift of perception. It can protect you. It can elevate you. But it can also consume you if you forget that power without restraint always destroys its wielder. You've now seen how the mask slips. You've learned to spot envy in a flicker, weakness in silence, and loyalty in denial. You've seen how people reveal themselves in who they copy, what they hate, and what makes their eyes look away. And you've seen how influence works, not by force but by mirroring desires, planting small vulnerabilities, and letting people define themselves while you quietly steer the outcome. This is the Machiavellian skill of psychological reading. It protects you, it arms you, it gives you control in a world where most people stumble blindly through interactions. But remember the shadow. Power without restraint is destruction. Insight without empathy is emptiness. The real genius is to just reading others. It is choosing when to use what you've learned and when to stay silent. If this exploration gave you new perspective, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and join us here at Psychology Insights. Because the game of human nature never ends, and the next move is always yours.